He doesn't trust them. Okay? He just doesn't. All right. Guys, I haven't spoken to my friend in a while, and I got to tell you something here. My friend, there is nobody that is more important to the University of Miami than this next guest. He's the guy that told everyone around the country, guess what? I'm winning it. We had a game once in Tampa. You know what Bernie said? We got a lead on them. Bernie was praying that Florida scored so he could have 3 seconds left to beat those guys because he wanted to have seconds left in the game to beat those dudes. That's who this guy is. He's really one of the greats. And how I got to Miami, I remember telling my cousin Pazzuli, I go, hey, can you ask Bernie? Sure enough, I get a call from Butch Davis. That's how he became a Hurricane, is because of that. And folks, I'll tell you this, my friend is so important, part of the broadcast team for the Cleveland Browns. All those AFC championships, he has a Super Bowl ring, he has a national championship ring, and he is my friend, part of that broadcast team for the Browns, as the Browns will have joint practices with the Eagles, and also we'll have that preseason game this weekend. He is our friend, Bernie Kosar. He joins us now.
Hey, Dan, great to be with you, brother.
How you doing, Bernie Kosar?
You matter, my man. I don't know where to start. I don't know how long the show is, but conceivably I could monopolize the next 3 or 4 hours going from the Dave Pazzuli shout out was awesome. But doing some of the University of Miami days back from the 80s to talk through some of the stuff we did in the NFL. Heck, the Browns and the Eagles are playing and practicing against each other this week, and it is kind of the 36-year anniversary of the Cleveland Browns and Philadelphia Eagles going to Wembley Stadium in London. We had training camp over there 36 years ago when the great Buddy Ryan was the Eagles head coach and Bud Carson was the Browns head coach. And this is probably a family show, so I don't want to say. And I hope if any players on the Browns or Eagles are listening, they do not do what our two teams did then. They had a fight fest in London, England, for 5 days. Okay?
Hey, Bernie, first and foremost, man, how's the health? How are you feeling? How is everything going? I know you had a procedure. By the way, folks, you talk about gutting it up always. This is my friend here. I mean, how's the health, Bernie? How are you coming along here?
Well, thanks, Dan, for bringing it up. And in the spirit of levity and having fun and stuff, literally had a surgery this morning. And I'm super proud, to be here now after 60-plus surgeries, 80 broken bones, 100 concussions, 15 seizures. Last couple seizures, I was in a coma for 72 and 96 hours. So for 8 years now, to have not done any pills or drinking and to do this surgery today without pain medication, and then to be able to sit here today and pretend to be cognitively present and blink out a few multi-syllable words when, literally, Dan, for the listeners, I was told 7 years ago that I have early onset of Alzheimer's and I have 5 years left of cognitive brain function. I couldn't say cognitive. I couldn't enunciate, articulate, communicate multiple syllable words. So I don't say that to be on the show today to brag, but for some of the fellow players out there and men in our age, so many of us are challenged and somewhat afraid to admit some of the issues that are going, and then to make lifestyle changes. And I'm not selling, but some of the lifestyle, functional medicine things I'm doing to be able to be here. And again, doing a surgery this morning and being reflective as I'm in the late third quarter, early fourth quarter of my life, and thinking in 1989, being in London and Reggie White and Seth Joyner, the great Jerome Brown, Andre Waters laying on top of me. I'm like, guys, the game's not till Saturday, and we're in a melee fight on Wednesday on a live practice. So I see why I'm not north of 60 surgeries. I see why I was in the hospital this morning. I got why I'm getting a liver transplant. But for the people out there, I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, amazing camaraderie. I say in jest, some of the guys, I mean, I was at the U yelling at Jerome Brown for not bringing down Doug Flutie on the Hale Flutie pass. And he was one of the few rookies that we let play on our team. And he was an amazing, awesome man and Philadelphia Eagle and a great brother of mine. And I was his older brother, the quarterback of the 1983 national championship team. So I'm like, Jerome, like in 1989, how come you're punching me on the bottom of the pile on a Thursday practice? It's not even a game. I thought we were boys. I'm still having the fallout from that great man. I'm getting surgeries.
Bernie, let me go here with you on this too. I mean, then we'll get into the modern day Browns here, but for you, as you get further out and you get further away from the things you did in Cleveland, you've got to be so proud of those teams. I mean, Marty Schottenheimer was on the coach of those teams that you guys had great success. You ran into a really great Denver Broncos team. Certain circumstances in those games obviously dictated the end of those games. But as you reflect back, Browns people look at you and they love you, man. You must really love that fact that how they receive you and how they revere you years later. I saw you with Taylor Swift in the press box like a year ago. You're hanging out with Taylor Swift. So, I mean, you've got to really love all the things that people in Cleveland and how they perceive you to this day.
Being proud to grow up in Northeastern Ohio, growing up a Browns fan, coming to the city and back in the 80s when it manufacturing and almost like today when some of the jobs and things weren't as cool as they've been in other parts of the country and stuff, and to have a bring back an identity and stuff. Super proud of it. Dan, and for the listeners out there, I like to pride myself on being a mature person and growing and stuff. But as a fellow Cane, that sometimes we're kind of good winners, but we're a lot of times bad losers. It's only taken me 35 years to quasi get over the John Elway issues in the 3 AFC championship games, but better late than never. I'm now really able to kind of enjoy it. And be proud of some of the things that have happened, and the kind of the resourcefulness that sports taught me. I mean, the University of Miami and the guys down there, Dan, how that formed us and really toughened us up for what lies ahead. And then what happened in football, I really thought that was going to be the apex of what we're doing. And I didn't know that it was really preparing me for life's lessons as we get into this fourth quarter of our life. I've been using the word late third quarter, early fourth quarter, but when you're diagnosed with early stage Parkinson's, early stage dementia, you're on a liver transplant list, it's more fourth quarter or overtime. So you get more reflective and more appreciative of those awesome fans and great teammates, like yourself and friends and guys that we've played with. So, to be able to be thinking about that, now and some of those games, it's super cool.
Hey, Bernie, I'll tell you, after you went into the supplemental draft, I did the same thing. I said, I mean, hey, dude, I can't tell you how I did the same thing. I did, man. I got to tell you one.
It's kind of cool. I'm super proud to say, and not to be cocky or cut you off, but the influence that guys, you're a year or two younger than me. Michael Irvin's a year or two younger than me, and to have, you're great men now, but the younger guys, that you influence. Mike came out early under the same type of flow. Same with yourself. It's kind of commonplace today. I didn't want to leave. I know you didn't want to leave, but we're blessed. We come from lower demographic backgrounds. Our families needed some help and support. And this is a sexist statement. But the men were, the older boys were in charge of taking care of the family. And I felt that responsibility, as a scarred Catholic growing up in Youngstown, Ohio. So, I want to get past St. Peter, on my way to the pearly gates. So I want to do all the correct stuff that, I was beaten of from the nuns and priests when I was a boy growing up.
Hey, Bertie, I got to tell you a story Pazzulli told me, and I want you to tell me if you can validate this that Schottenheimer said. So a guy, you had Bubba Baker on your team, right? You had Bubba Baker on the team. So Pizzuli's sitting in there, and you guys are getting ready for an AFC championship game. And all of a sudden, Marty comes walking in. He goes, guys, he just starts tearing up. Guys, we're going to go out there. We're going to win this. We're going to do this. And Bubba Baker, he goes, and I'm going to be your general. Marty goes, I'm going to be your general. Bubba Baker looks over at Pizzuli and goes, I don't know about you, man, but I don't know if I want my general crying going into battle. So, I mean, he was very emotional. But I'll tell you what, man, I'm a huge Marty Schottenheimer fan. I love Marty Schottenheimer. What an absolutely – it must have been awesome playing for him.
Yeah, Dan. And I, as again, scarred Catholic, I'm going to confession. I'll say confession right now on air here. Bless me, Father Dan, because I have sinned, because I did not realize that Marty Ball was a massively good thing to transition me from college to pros. And today, so many people are saying that the game has changed, and it has changed, but it's amazing that teams now that run the ball like Marty does, okay, the running teams, now that you can't do inside drill and hit and practice like you do, the running physical play action game has resurfaced within the NFL. And I like to pride myself on being known as a guy with decent intelligence. But if I could go back and redo it, I didn't as appreciate his running game and physicalness as much as I should have, and I would have implemented it more. And then I got to also say, for all the people out there, as an old man now who could cry at the drop of a hat, not to make excuses, but Marty passed of all timers. He was a backup special teams wedge busting guy. And we didn't know at the time he was cognitive. I'm challenged. I could, part of as you get older and you have this stuff, you emotionally cry, you tear up. And he loved football more than anything in the world. He loved our team, and he wore it. He wore that. And that combination, I really want to keep that spirit alive.
I love that.
For some of the stuff he did. And this Kevin Stefanski system, I'm not just saying this to be a homer, okay, but we were 3-14 trying to be spread offense, shotgun, run around, do that. It's blocking and tackling. Dan, it's the D lineman, bro. We got to get our hands in the ground. You would love the tackles and guards always to come after you in a 2-point stance. Your leverage and strength, you'd be underneath them. You'd be squatting them out of your way. Like, you can't embrace your athleticism being too high. So like what Marty did and what Coach Stefanski and what some of this new running game is doing, I think it's a really a big equalizer.
I got to get your opinion. We're based in Philly. I want to hear your thoughts. By the way, I'll make sure I tell Jim Kelly tomorrow, because he's coming on with us as well, and we'll be talking to Jim tomorrow. But for you, Bernie, what Jalen Hurts, how do you look at him? How do you quantify him? He's so hard because, again, people will look at the 2903 as passing yards, the 18 touchdowns, yet they dominated the NFL, like you said, with the run game. So tell me what your assessment is of Jalen Hurts as an NFL quarterback. How do you see him?
I'll definitely get to Jalen. I can't let the great Jim Kelly call shout out go without a love of our big brother. And the reason why hockey players in the 80s didn't have their front teeth, University of Miami quarterbacks in the 80s didn't have their back teeth because Jim didn't wear them. So we got ours knocked out. So when he got his mouth cancer, and I learned what not to do. Okay, so when I got mine from it, learning and this functional medicine stuff that saved me has really been a blessing. So Jim's, besides a brother of mine who I loved playing against and learning from. And then, Dan, when we play our brothers and our best friends, we want to beat them. So
absolutely.
Were really good back then, so please check out my record when I started against them.
Bernie's record versus the Bills. I love it there. What do you make of Jalen Hurts? Give me your takeaway on Hurts.
Jalen Hurts thing and those awesome Philadelphia fans is my last pro pass was a touchdown to O.J. McDuffie on the 19-yard line of the old Philadelphia Stadium. I was so happy, came over to the sideline and got about 2,000 beers thrown on me. That the Philadelphia visiting team gets, but also the home team quarterback, what he gets perennially over the 4 decades that I've been following the Philadelphia Eagles, actually 5 decades, because the Polish rifle Ron Jaworski from Youngstown State was one of the great guys and influencers in my life. And the massive pressure and stress that's on every NFL quarterback in all 32 markets really can't be dismissed, but it's massively heightened in Philadelphia. So for what Coach Sirianni has done and what Jalen Hurts has done in the implementation of the physical running game and what you guys do with your GM, Howie, and the amazing offense and defensive line. I know you're biased, and for your listeners, is a defensive lineman, but that is where the game is won today, and the Philadelphia Eagles go after it with that. So it's not an indictment of Jalen Hurts' awesomeness that he has a good running game and he implements it. And I love his abilities. Unfortunately, as a visiting quarterback, I love his abilities in clutch times and in clutch game situations. He makes the right play. So QBing a lot of times comes down to a half dozen plays in a game, and 3 of them may not be sexy, but it may be as simple as not making a mistake, or on 4th and 3 or 3rd and 6, putting it under or hitting a check down. He's as impressive as anybody. So again, if you guys don't like him, we'll take him.
But Bernie, I think you're hitting on something that, and I've said this before, and I've actually told Vinny Testaverde this. And again, we love Vinny. We love him very much. Okay. But someone asked me this on the NFL Network. They were talking to me about our quarterbacks that we had at one time at the University of Miami. And they go, if you had to win a ball game, who would you take? I go, I'd take Bernie Kosar any day to win a ball game because he's not going to be denied. And they go, yeah, but you had a quarterback in there like Vinny Testaverde that was one of the most gifted guys of all time. And I go, Vinny had better arm. Vinny had a bigger body. Vinny was a better athlete. But you know what Bernie was? He was better at winning. And I go, is it really that right there? Decision-making is what separate you guys? Because I've said this before too, Bernie. Tom Brady's not the most gifted passer. He's not the most athletic guy, but you know what he is? He's the most cerebral guy on the field. He knows where to go with the ball at all times. And that's something that you had. You knew where to go with the ball in the critical situations. And I think that's what Hurts does. He outthinks the game. That's quarterbacking.
And I'm so glad I had a great run of coaches. Look, Howard Schnellenberger, the Don Shula, Jimmy Johnson, Marty Schottenheimer, Bill Belichick, Bud Carson, Jimmy Johnson 3 times, Coach Shula again. You know, that ability to be able to be coached like guys like that. But almost all the coaches, and Howard Schnellenberger clearly said to me, he goes, and this is a life lesson, whether it's football or for people just trying to survive in life. Be honest with yourself, Bernie. You got to maximize what you do good and be honest with yourself, minimize what you can't do good. And you are not athletic. You're not fast. You don't have the strongest arm, but you got a good brain. So this is the offense that I mandate that you maximize your abilities and minimize your weaknesses. And you're fortunate that you came to me because I let the quarterbacks call the plays. And you need to always make sure you take advantage of the plays. And he goes, you know what? Even if you do all of that, you probably still aren't going to play because those guys are better than you. But he goes, you know what? If you run from this challenge today and you go home to mommy and, you know, you go play at a lower division school, he goes, everything in life that's great, whether it's a quarterback, a millionaire, a success in business, a success in your family, that's hard to do. And if you run from this challenge, you'll run from every subsequent challenge the rest of your life. So he goes, it's better to suck it up, admit who you are, and then do the best you can. And if you fail, so he goes, Burns, so what? You failed. You don't have to be an old man like me and die for 50 years from within, not knowing if you got the heart, if you got the spirit. And I didn't have the heart and spirit at that time, but I developed it because I didn't want to not play. And
That's right. I mean,
that was my
Bernie,
play.
that one of the greatest winners, and again, one of the most important people in our program's history. So let me ask you about the modern day Browns. Who starts at quarterback in your opinion?
So I'm really liking the system, and we are victims or beneficiaries in life of, just like football, of who we're around. And although quarterback gets a lot of credit and blame, we need guys around us and stuff. So this running game play action is going to help transition whoever the quarterback is. I'm biased, Dan. This cost me a little bit of my relationship early with Baker Mayfield because I love Baker. Okay. Just like I love Patrick Mahomes. Okay. But Patrick Mahomes did not play till the last game of his first year. I was a baby with Marty Schottenheimer. I wanted to play right off the bat. I love Gary Danielson. He made my transition possible to the league, Dan. But I was a baby. I wanted to play right off the bat. Sometimes those players have to be helped from ourselves, and a little learning could really help. Joe Flacco it's amazing, Dan, at 18 years into the league, and he's going to be 41 years old. He throws the ball so artistically beautiful that I feel like I'm not culturally refined, but I feel like if I was a ballet orchestra person, watching him effortlessly throw the ball, it's like a work of art right now. So having a veteran leadership, and then, it's a long season. We play lots of quarterbacks, and then you have time on some of our younger quarterbacks. And yes, Dylan Gabriel was picked 94th, the third round, but Shador coming in the fifth round. But should Dylan having the hamstring, and Kenny Pickett, you guys had last year, having a hamstring, I feel bad for him. It's put him behind. So Shador came, and one person's issues is another man's opportunity, and Shador absolutely showed composure, professionalism, playmaking, command of the offense, really good things. But again, I kind of lean towards veterans easing our way into the season, especially with you defensive guys. The first month of the season, the first 4 games, we don't have film breakdowns.
Yeah.
You're not doing what you're doing in preseason here. It's a complete guess game. You got the upper hand early. The linemen haven't got their sea legs. We haven't banged you in the head enough yet to where you're slowing down on the 34 ISOs and stuff. So, there's time for the young guys, and I was super impressed with what Shador did.
So do you think he's an NFL quarterback, or do you think he needs more seasoning?
Dan, he's an NFL quarterback. He absolutely is an NFL quarterback.
Do you think he could start in Cleveland?
So right now, yes, he could start. All 4 of those guys could start. Should he start for the long-term benefit of a 10, 15-year career September 7th? That's a different question. But for a guy who could be in the league for lots of years, Shador Sanders will be in the league for lots of years.
Tell me who Kevin Stefanski is. I know he's a 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. Tell me why, and tell me how you think he's special in what he's done there. Because, again, last year, ton of injuries again. The quarterback position, the whole thing with Deshaun Watson has fallen completely apart a little bit. The future there yet to be determined. But tell me about Kevin Stefanski. Do you like Kevin Stefanski?
So yes is the simple short answer. And even if we were off air, This isn't just to be politically right. Okay. I really like him. And what I really like is you and me been around coaches, stubborn, opinionated, dictators to the nth degree. Okay. He's setting, us football guys, us coaches. Yeah. We got to have a little opinionated and a little definition as to what we believe in. And he definitely is committed to what he believes in. I like that. Look, we made a mistake with the offense last year, and we made a mistake with the Deshaun thing. A lot of like in life, when people make mistakes, we for sure do it in football. We pretend we didn't make one. So it's awesome that we've kind of owned it. It's awesome that we're not going to die with the ship and keep running, spread, shotgun, 4 and 5 receivers when the heart of our team is Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, and those big old offensive linemen trying to run the ball and play action. That's his core DNA. And we started out the show loving Marty and talking about that. I really believe the game of football is going that way. So Kevin Stefanski's system and the off the belly, look at, we're going to be, I don't know how much you'll see it in the game this week, but he likes tight ends. So 12 and 13 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends, 1 back, 3 tight ends. And you've got a 350-pound DeJuan Jones and Conklin at 340 running over Njoku, Harold Farron, and another tight end. You're hard-pressed as undersized pass rushing defensive linemen that most of the league has, except Philly. Okay, so most of the time that's going to work pretty good and consistently.
Bernie, do you like? Let me go into. First, though, do you think they're a playoff team this year? The Browns. Do you think they could be a playoff team?
So I am. So we all are capable of being a playoff team. We're all capable of going on a run. We all have the same football isms. If we stay healthy, well, we really have to stay healthy in the Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, couple offensive linemen, philosophy type stuff. And then, yeah, we need some help. I mean, bro, look at our division. I mean, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Aaron Rodgers with loaded up teams. So it's impressive. I'm so impressed. I'm proud of how you started about the coolness of the 80s. Super proud of some being included in some of the really good quarterbacks and good offenses of the 80s back then. We're lock and loaded right now in 2025 with good quarterback play. And
Bernie, who are your top 5? Give me your top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now, because it's always a debate. And I'd love to hear from you, because I think your perspective would be different. Because, again, I told people this earlier in the show. I saw a guy, and no disrespect to anybody, but one of the greatest and most gifted players I've ever seen in my life is Jeff George. And yet I watched that guy get into a game and he couldn't figure out how to get out of a locker room, let alone figure out how to go up and down a football field like yourself and win ball games. There's a special savant that you have to be, I think, to be that. And you've got to be a great teammate. Folks, watching Bernie Kosar, do you understand he's got the same traits that Tom Brady had? Because I said this about Tom Brady. Brady's the greatest teammate I've ever seen. Bernie, that was one of the traits that you had. You were just a great teammate, and your team gravitated to you. You have to have that. So are there 5 guys in this league right now that you would put in that conversation of being a great teammate and a great quarterback? Who would be those 5 guys?
So I'll do that. And that's a tough one. And there's so many good ones that I don't want to offend anybody. But to that point, thank you, 1, for saying it, and 2, for younger players and young quarterbacks out there. I had to find my space within the locker room. And actually what we were talking about, Shedeur, playing good on the field, and then also finding his space in the locker room where the guys, look at, I don't want to sound cocky, but nobody was going to touch me. Okay. The University of Miami and the Cleveland Brown linemen, with the first fight in the Catholics versus the convicts, wasn't 1988. Okay. It was 1984. It was the first night game ever. I love Jerry Faust. He should have recruited me. He told me I couldn't play quarterback. So we had a little bit of an attitude going up there. And that type of physical presence, you only get that when you're one of the boys, when you're with the guys. And for young quarterbacks, especially if you're not as talented as some of the other quarterbacks and you're not as athletic, you have to embrace the mental side. You have to embrace win at all cost. And then you have to be there for your guys. And I got to say, I haven't developed. I was told after retirement, you have to diversify. You have to do other business stuff. You have to have other friends. You have to meet other people. Um, that was wrong. That was actually the biggest decision. Hanging with my brothers in the locker room, learning. Those guys had my back, and I had their back. And to this day, as an old man, I still got their back. I mean, you can, those guys. If you're listening, you're an NFL guy, and you're one of my players. If you were a teammate, you were in my huddle in the rectangle. You can call me anytime for anything and I'll kill myself to do that for you.
I know this.
I,
And you know what?
I
Our
made
teammates,
the
I
go.
love every one of my teammates to this day, Bernie, that we had at Miami. And I tell people this all the time. What you guys set in 83, like you said, 84, you guys beat the hell out of them. We turned around in 85 and beat Notre Dame 58 to 7. We destroyed them the next year. And Bernie, all the things that you guys set, I tell you this, outside of my family, and my daughter and my wife. I mean, it's the greatest period of my life that I've never, it's like Camelot. I never experienced more winning. I never experienced more brotherhood. I've never experienced anything where we stepped on the field and people were in fear of us.
Yeah.
It was just an incredible environment. And you guys really did start it. And we kind of carried it like with Jimmy when Jimmy was there. And it was just, it's one of the greatest times of my life being a Miami Hurricane.
I would absolutely echo that. And you know what? If I could add, and I know we're probably running up against you needing to go on to commercials or other
No,
people.
we got time here. We got time. Go ahead.
Okay, but like I gotta say this too, to the awesomeness of the brothers and teammates. When we played, okay, we also were equally wrong in our dislike for the other team.
Oh, we did.
Okay? So as I'm talking here into Philadelphia, and I'm talking about 36 years ago, I'm not trying to be fun. Maybe I am trying to be funny, but it is factual. We fought like little children that should be thrown in jail, okay, in London, England, okay, in those fights. And I said it in jest about my brother Jerome Brown, who we were shaking and moving together down in Miami. And now that 330-pound body was squishing me and punching me on the bottom of the pile, scamming my smelling salts so that I couldn't even crack them to get the concussion out of my head, from that. But I developed a rapport that week, and it was a negative rapport with Andre Waters. Okay, so I had an attitude. One of the things as quarterbacks that Coach Snellenberger, Jimmy Johnson back in the day, the defensive secondary, the safety in particular, was my enemy as the quarterback. So I was eyeing him up. He told me how to pre-snap read, how to run plays. And I love Andre, God bless him. But back in the day, you were allowed and you were praised to be an incredibly dirty player. And although it's a penalty now, Andre was a ankle knee chopper, on his weak safety blitzes, and I'm a not flexible beanpole with toothpick legs. So when I go like, dude, you got a weak safety blitz at 9 on a Wednesday walkthrough practice, and you're diving at my legs. So that set off a week of like fighting between the two of us, and then fast forward, and I'm embarrassed to say again, since we're doing confession here, Father Dan, that me and him had animosity and language and then bad intentions towards each other. And then you fast forward to some of the stuff we started talking about me and him, Dave Durison, Junior Seau. There's a foursome of us that we all had the concussion issues at the same time together. Andre, me and Dave, Junior had started working on some of the treatments that we were going through, and we know in 2025 that these are real issues. The medications are wrong. The head trauma is genuine. But heck, back 15, even 7, 8, 10 years ago, even us knowing what was going on wasn't sure. And me and Andre became really close the last few years, like Dave Durson. And for people out there, whether they're ex-players, and I work a ton with military. I love my number 19. But 19 people will commit suicide in the state of Ohio today. There's 22 people nationally from our veterans that will commit suicide today. We've had over 50,000 people overdose death this year from the fentanyl issues. I could have, should have, embarrassingly been either one of those two statistics. So to proudly be here today, cognitively getting better, and to be able to not do that stuff, I don't say it to brag, but I do say it for people that are struggling. Follow some of the stuff I'm doing. There's help out there. And if you're my teammate or a guy I played against, that you please reach out, because there's hope for us.
Bernie, you're important. You know this. I mean, I listen. You're important, man. You're important, all of us. You know that. Don't kid yourself. You know that on how we look at you. You know how that entire program looks at you. You know how the people who know you and love you. You're important to us here. So I'll tell you one story before you give me your 5 NFL quarterbacks here. I got to tell you a Junior Seau story. So I believe you may have been down in Miami at the time. So Seau was down there, and he calls me up, and he goes, "Hey, brother, I need you to do me if you had play." Folks, this guy was a horrible ukulele player, but he played this ukulele, and he goes, "Brother."
Yeah.
He goes, "How you doing? Hey, I need you to do me a favor." So I sent him around, and I introduced him to the head coach of the Heat was Pat Riley. I introduced him to a bunch of people, and I'll never forget this because you just said this. So Daryl Talley calls me. I'm on the air at QAM down in Miami, right? Sills, we just lost Sal. And I'm like, what? He goes, like, we lost Sal. And they told me the particulars of it. And I remember telling Tim Brown, all he had to do was call us. Thousands, we all would have ran to him. We would have ran to him to help him.
Man, I hadn't developed and figured out some of this IV detoxing treatments that I'm doing now. Me and him started this 15 years ago, and unfortunately we hadn't figured it out then. And you're right. One of the things that us players, we love each other, but for men, we have too much pride. We were told our whole life, don't have feelings, you don't cry, suck it up, you're a bad person, swear word. If you cry, have emotion, feel bad, feel sorry. No, it's okay to do that. And Junior used to say to me, you go like, Bern, I go to the happy hours, I go to dinner, you're the life of the party, you're telling jokes, everyone's high-fiving you. You go home at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and you can't sleep. I mean, I'd go 72, 96, 120 hours, 3, 4, 5 days, most of this century with the cognitive issues. You couldn't fall asleep. And
no.
back then you didn't know what was going on. And this is probably inappropriate for the show, but back, 25 years ago, if you're in Miami and you can't sleep, everybody, your family thinks you're on cocaine.
I know, right?
But if you can't sleep, that's not what you're on.
Hey, man.
But you didn't know that stuff,
No, I mean, Bernie, right now, I tell people this. I mean, the issues I have, I played 7 years of pro ball. And for me, I mean, sleeping at night, I don't sleep all the way through. I wake up every hour, sometimes it's good. I have to take aspirin every night before I go to bed, or I can't roll around. So, I mean, there's no doubt about it here. I'll get to your stuff at the end. I want for people to know, because I know you have some products there that can help people here. Bernie, I need your 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah, you know what, the 5, and it's why it's tough again for the Browns too, is when you start looking at Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes of the current players. I mean, it's hard not to talk about those four, and I've left out a couple right there. And if you go to the older guys, like, God, you keep talking about Tom Brady, like, ultimately we are judged by our wins, and he's got them. So it's spectacular, and I think our quarterback play is just top tier, and that's what does not make it bode well for the Browns, especially if we get some injuries. And that's not an indictment of any of our quarterbacks. It's just, damn, are these guys impressive in the league right now. I mean, I'm watching Joe Burrow, watching him throw to Chase and stuff. Like, how do you stop that? And then Lamar Jackson with the dual threat. The pressure. There's a lot of pressure on Lamar. Look at the regular season awesomeness with the, getting farther in the playoffs. I'm a little more attuned to that as a guy who lost to Elway 3 times, so that sticks in my long-term head for long-term anxiety that sometimes adds to us not sleeping as we become,
Let me, Bernie, I got to ask you a couple things personally here. When you're walking off the field of the Orange Bowl and you have realized the seconds after Kenny Calhoun knocks that down, and you realize that you had won the national championship for Howard, and it's began our program, that moment there, is that your defining moment in sports, or is there another time? Because again, that moment was not just about winning a national title. It was about a promise you made to Howard and all the things about the program and everything. Is that your biggest, for you, memory that you've ever had in sports? You were so iconic in Cleveland. I hard to believe that probably somebody in there, but that moment had to be huge.
So, you know what? Thanks. I'm so blessed that I'm not sure any one can be, because I've had so many. That one, though, was really probably what we epitomize as the ultimate one, because technically as a quarterback, and I have some people around me in my family today, and I don't mean this here to be negative, but you know how we had to look and think to be a productive football player consistently. We were never happy. So
Never.
for 489 yards against the New York Jets in a double overtime victory, NFL record for 3 or 4 decades till Brady broke it, and didn't think about it 1 second of happiness, because the next week was the Denver AFC Championship game. You always were conditioned at the University of Miami under Howard Schnellenberger and Jimmy Johnson not to be complacent and to move forward successfully. So actually, but I was only 19, 18 when we won the championship. I was too young to really realize how cool that was. And technically, that was really the only time I really won and then enjoyed it, because some of the other games when we won the Super Bowl, you started thinking about repeats. And even the University of Miami one, within a day or two, we were talking about repeating and that. So, I believe you keep getting better as a person, just like you get better as a player when you don't actually get pride in yourself.
I got to tell you, Bernie, you look happier now than you did when you played. I don't know. Maybe there's a sense right now of you knowing and all the things where you are in your life. And
Dan, when I played, I wasn't happy. Not at all.
You just never seemed happy.
Oh, no, you're not happy. You're working. You're completely obsessed. I mean, I'm not. That's how I had to play to be good. I'm a pretend extrovert. Okay, autism runs in our family. I'm really on the spectrum. I have a couple autistic nephews. I'm really introverted. And when I was in first and second grade, I was diagnosed with words you're not allowed to use now in terms of being stupid. I got D's and F's, paddled and stuff, and figured out, if I didn't talk in class and put my tie on and got A's, they stopped paddling and hitting me. So I got all A's after third grade. Okay. But really being on the spectrum and being introverted, you know, there was no happiness. And back then, remember the way, not right, young players, we were told by the coaches that the media was the enemy. So I was always afraid to say something wrong, you know.
Yeah.
And Coach Johnson, there's a great lesson that he taught, and Coach Stellenberger. They said when they do a press conference and they're answering questions for the fans and for the media, they're like, the head coach and my quarterback, they're not talking to the fans. They're not talking to the media. He goes, you're talking to your locker room. You're talking to your teammates. And if you're focused and you're grumpy and you're all about business, so will they. And if you're a comedian thinking you're on Comedy Central, so will they. So truthfully, as an old man, I really want to think I'm a comedic guy. I want to be on Comedy Central. But when I was playing, I had to be like stoic, and I was introverted. But bro, that's why I get fired every 3 or 4 years for a sports gig.
Hey, Bernie, I got to
It's
tell you this. I got to tell you, the guy that I am right now, it took me 30 years not to be that guy that I was back then, because I'll tell you this. When I came out of the U, they had conditioned me. I didn't care who you were. I didn't care what you were. I was going to talk as much, and I'll say it, shit as possible. You were not going to say anything about our program. I was one of the most obnoxious people on the planet. Our program played that way. We played with arrogance. We played with confidence. And that's why we won so many football games, Bernie. I think we played like that.
Yeah, and Dan, for the young kids out there, you can't do that today.
No,
but
you can't.
Had to be like that.
Yes.
Had to be. You would have been eaten coming in as a transfer, white defensive lineman.
Yep.
Would have been eaten
not a Florida kid.
You wouldn't have played 7 years in the NFL unless you turned yourself in. And this is so inappropriate. And I mean this as a compliment. But you had to turn yourself into an animal. I mean, look at your cousin Dave Pizzoli. He's one of the greatest humans in the world in his 60s. But look what he had to be a nose tackle.
Yeah.
And in the mid 80s, okay.
Yep.
Cleveland on the landfill dirt.
Okay, Bernie, I'm going to end it with here. Okay, I mean, what's next? Oh, by the way, you talk this medicine?
So you know what?
Talk about it.
Yeah, so really, a lot of what I do now is functional medicine and holistic lifestyle. Inbred Slovak who grew up on kibasi and pierogies for breakfast. Okay, it's why the Kosar men die of stomach cancer at 65. Okay, and have cognitive decline. So really working on your diet and juicing and good water-based stuff. But some of the things, like I'm early Parkinson's, early dementia. I had surgery today without pain meds, and I'm gonna be going dark in a couple days, probably for a liver transplant, without pain meds, and without any of the other meds. So being able to go through this with holistic stuff from my doctors in terms of flushing and detoxing with some natural supplements. So I have things that in the pharma world you get yelled at for saying they're Adderall and pain pill replacements, but being able to take things that aren't narcotics that are detoxing you. So I would challenge people, especially if you're cognitively anxiety and having some of that. I'm a big believer in flushing out the ultra processed fast foods. So check me out at kosar.com or shopkosar.com. And it's basically staying healthy with functional medicine, brother.
I'm with you, Bernie. And you know what? You mean a lot to us, all of us. You mean a lot to me. You always have, you know that. And we love you so much. I mean, you are one of the most important people that, I grew up with. And I grew up in that program. So many lessons was taught. And, you were in that program are synonymous with one another. And everybody that follows out of that program, I'm sad that I told Mario Cristobal the other day, I talk to him weekly now, and I told him, I said, man, we got to get back to what Bernie created and what everyone created and what we were so that we can be again. So, brother, I love you very much. And make sure, listen, I'm going to be contacting you.
Keep in touch, brother. Through the year, man. You and me are a staple.
No, man, we're brothers for life, man. And I love you very much, Bernie. You make sure you tell your family that we thank them for doing this. And I know that, you had a procedure today and you did this for me. And I just love the hell out of you, man. Thank you so much, man. I'll be in contact the next couple days.
All right. Love you, brother. You matter. You matter.
I love you too, man. Bernie Kosar. I can't tell you how important that guy is to our program. He's got Hodgkin's disease. He's got dementia. And got a national title. He's got a Super Bowl ring. I would never have gone to Miami if it wasn't for him. I mean, I had been thrown out of college. And I remember contacting Pizzoli, and I said, can you ask Bernie about Miami? And sure enough, I get a call from Dave Wanstead, or excuse me, Butch. Hey, want to come down here and play? I'd love to have you come down here. Bernie vouches for you. I was a maniac. My aunt will tell you, I was a maniac. I was not a very friendly guy. I just was not. My aunt will tell you, I struggled a lot when it came to just being nice. I was very angry as a kid, always in fights. And I just, it's taken me 35 years to be the person I am now and not be that guy. I don't want to be that guy anymore. Okay? I do not want to be that guy. The guy was what's really crazy is that my daughter sees me today, and I'm so happy that she didn't see that guy. My wife saw that guy. And man, was I a mean dude? I mean, bully at Maryland. I got thrown out because I threw a guy off a roof. I didn't care. You kidding me? I literally threw a guy out of a window. How do you think I got thrown out? I mean,